Hey guys, welcome to Tavern Talks. Today we're here with MosCorel. Today, MosCorel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, what's up? It's Moss or Coral, whichever you prefer. Here to talk about some cards with the main man Wonkles.
So, would you like to talk about anything you've done in the Cards and Tankards community so far?
Well, as of right now, I've played in two of the tournaments. One of them was the actual one that was held by the game itself, the developers, and then the other one was just community based, but still. I just play often. I'm currently a mod apprentice. Hopefully, mod someday, please. Mwah. But just enjoy playing the game a lot, making these interactions with new people. Just getting to meet everybody. It's really fun. Community game's good. Honestly, can't say a whole lot about. Uh,
About the competitive aspect? Is that what you're gonna say?
yeah. Well, yeah. I don't. I do like to. I don't like to say I'm a great player because sometimes it can seem cocky, and I definitely don't think I'm a great player by any great means compared to like you or Dan Moore or people of those likes. Black Block whooped your butt, but but it's nice. I don't have to be great to get along with you guys, and I like learning all these new tactics and stuff. And as time goes on, I am progressively getting better each and every day. So,
Yeah, you're learning, and that's great. Also, uh, anytime I do really like the idea of bringing people on for this to talk about discussions and to talk about cards and interactions. I really enjoy it. If anyone's interested in being in part of this one, and I'm part of the Tavern Talks, I'd love to hear it. MosCorel is I've done it with Julius so far, and now MosCorel. He reached out to me and wanted to be a part of this, so I let him.
pretty seamless process. You just message the man, and he'll get back.
Yeah, but we
Yep,
can
yep.
we can start on the tier list then.
All right, sounds good.
It's the pretty much the same as before, as in the original DM tier list. Same process. We assume that you, your opponent's just gonna play the best to their ability. That's usually the best bet because you're gonna do good regardless if you're just assuming they're gonna play to the best of their ability. So if they're gonna play really well, you really want to, you know, assume they will, and then you're not gonna
Hmm.
be disappointed that they played really well.
Yeah, planning for the best possible move usually is the best route because there's lots of things you can plan for, but if you plan for the worst case scenarios, then usually you can come out on top.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
one of the cards that definitely will be uh, have that put in mind is Moose Calf. But
Mm,
starting off, we're gonna be talking about Monstrous Sloth. So this is a 6 mana 6/8 that is a normal creature. Pretty boring. It it's good. It's okay. It's not that great though. It's very weak to Mob Rule and Springtrap. I think personally you would rather play Enraged Elephant if you're gonna play something like that.
yeah, I would agree.
You would rather also play Stellar Shard. If you're gonna go for an aggressive card, you'd rather play Stellar Shard, which is a 4 mana, than playing the 6 mana for an extra 2 health and not taking the damage every turn and without the taunt. So I would say it's an F. It's okay. You're gonna run it early game because you have to, and outside of that, you cut it out of your decks.
Yeah, because it starts in the starter deck, I believe. So,
Okay, and then we're moving on to Moose Calf.
used to be my favorite thing in the whole game. I swear, when you got a little Bambi in front of you with 100 something attack and 100 something health, it's pretty nice. But realistically speaking, not a to pull off the combo. like you would want to, just because in all actuality, nobody's really gonna let you pull that like, oh, I'm gonna block your 1/1, knowing dang good and well you're gonna kill my creature first. So it's just unrealistic to believe that would happen. And most case scenarios, it's not gonna happen. I mean, you can beef Bambi up, but aside from that, he's not very useful. So I personally would put him at a C.
Yeah,
I don't think he's quite F.
yeah,
Maybe later tiers or maybe later, cards can help improve upon that. But
yeah. I definitely used to like this card a lot whenever I first started, but I have moved away from him since then because before you just didn't have the one drops to play over him, but now there's just so many one drops in the game that are just straight up way better than him that you just never run him.
hmm
Like in the
like
past, like I would run three Skywatcher, three Moose Calf, because it would be like pretty much the same as a Skywatcher, but a little worse than Skywatcher. Skywatcher's a little better than this card, but it is
yeah,
an
I would
okay.
agree.
It's
The flight early game is annoying unless they've got something like Gun Haunt to handle it.
if you can buff it up, it is definitely a fun one, but I would rather buff up something like a Trapjaw than this.
Yeah, good old Stumpy.
Yeah.
Or, even most like 2 cost cards. I mean, it is one more cost than the Bambi, but there's just so much more potential from those.
Okay. And then so next we have Enraged Elephant. So I have it's 6 mana for a 6/5. It is very comparable to Monstrous Sloth. So basically, you're usually gonna actually get that like death blow like 3 times if it doesn't like get murdered by something. So it is gonna have probably the same amount of health as Monstrous Sloth, but it's gonna have more attack. But it's also weaker early on. It's probably the same level as Monstrous Sloth. Any opinions on that, Moss?
Honestly, the elephant, I mean, really seeing it at first, whenever we initially spoke about it, it seemed more like I was thinking the elephant was better than the sloth. But honestly, they're both a little bit slow, and the fact that it does take those 3 death blows or 2 death blows to get the elephant up to the sloth. I mean, it's just, yeah, it does end up having a higher attack and then the same health, but it took that time, and that time doesn't always happen. Somebody could easily have a 9/8 bone amalgamate out and just wipe it out instantly. So I would probably agree on the ranking.
Yeah, I feel like Monstrous Sloth actually may be better than Enraged Elephant. Just by a hair, though. Like,
Uh,
Enraged Elephant is kind of a trap for new players, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing that I could say about Enraged Elephant is maybe the fact that if a lower creature is used, like a chump block, it's not really losing too much health per se because a 2 pop on it and then getting the 1 back because +1/+1. So, I mean, either way though, there's definitely other 6 cost cards that would be more useful.
Yeah, you'd rather run other stuff, as I would say. You'd just rather play Stellar Shard if you're going aggressive. You'd rather play Pack Beast if you're gonna go for defensive. Okay. And then moving on,
Yep.
we have Stalwart Guard. So it's a 3 mana, 1/5 with Taunt.
hmm
So it is a card that I would say it's comparable to the 1 mana, whatever you call it. Why am I forgetting this card's name? That card's name. Do you remember what it was exactly called? Uh, Stump.
The taunt.
Yeah, Stumpy guy. Yeah, Stump.
Oh, okay, yeah, stump,
Trapjaw
stump,
Stump.
trap jaw.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
He's
very.
comparable. He just comes out with a higher health off the bat. Um,
He's.
so
I would say he's also comparable to Missionary Vanguard. So I would rather play Missionary Vanguard in most situations, where Missionary Vanguard can give you a whole board wipe for one less health, and without taunt. So
Yeah,
the taunt is nice, but it's a little situational on him.
I agree. When you're running cards like Stellar Shard that already has taunt or Trapjaw that has taunt, there's not really too many use case scenarios where you're going to need multiple taunts out because it's just like at that point, what are you really taunting their enemies from? They're just attacking your creatures, and all of them have taunt. So if you're really having to choose what taunt to use, there are definitely better options, but in some cases, like the 1/5 coming out, I find I don't know, I like him. I can't deny it. I do like him. I run him in one of my decks.
Yeah,
He's just interesting, but I only run one. That's the thing. It's a lot of times they don't expect it to come out. So
yeah. I would actually say he's a like now that I think about it, he's actually pretty comparable to Stellar Shard as well. So for one more mana, you get five more attack and one more health, but he has the prepare that you lose health for it.
hmm
Which I think you would rather play Stellar Shard and you'd rather play Stumpy rather than this.
yeah.
So I would
And
say,
then and this is under like we said, like we said at the start of the video. This is under the pretext that your opponent is playing to the absolute best of their ability. So you're gonna want to use those best case scenario cards. And this, unfortunately, when it comes to like what it's trying to pull off with taunt, probably wouldn't make the cut.
yeah, the your opponent can't will make mistakes, and if you expect them to play really well, you won't be surprised. You'll only be happy that they made a mistake, and then
Yeah,
you
it'll only
won't be
benefit you.
surprised when they play the best they can.
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, and then next up we have local Gravekeeper. So this is a
Love them.
it's a 2 mana 2/3 that at the end of your turn you banish a random card from your opponent's graveyard.
Nope.
It's
Honestly,
right now it's a staple in every deck. Well, not every deck, but most decks you want to run probably like 3 copies of him, just
there's
because
no reason not to.
there is
You,
no other card in the game that does what the Gravekeeper does.
mhm.
I put him in A on the sense that he's actually not that helpful uh, if on his own, but you have to run him. You
Mhm.
begrudgingly run him.
He's unfortunately the only defense against a bone deck in that regard. I mean, he may also, there's been many times where I've got a local gravekeeper in my hand, and somebody the turn before, boons to bones their magi, and hopes that next turn they'll necromancy it. Well, I'll just local gravekeeper, and then boom, their magi is gone majority of the time because this early game we're speaking. So can be useful in that aspect outside of bones.
Yeah, well, also Bones really likes to run it, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
it
Bones runs it
does.
too.
It also dies from Dark Matter Blast very easily. So
Yeah.
it does lure in Dark Matter Blast usages, which
Mhm.
is something that I've really drawn towards, because if you overload your opponent with good targets for Dark Matter Blast, they can only hit so many.
Yep.
They only have 3 in their deck usually, except if they have Zealous Archivist. But you usually want to kill their Zealous Archivist as soon as possible. But moving on, we have Adept Gunsmith. This card was actually buffed a little while ago. From it used to be a 1/1, now it's a 2 mana 2/2 that on entrance gives a friendly creature a range until the beginning of your next turn. So you can play it in as like a defensive unit to save from flyers, or you can use it to as like an offensive to like get ranged on your units so that they hit first, so first strike. Anything to say about that, MosCorel?
Well, I mean, I feel like the he's he's got his uses. I do think at some point I would like to see something else come out with his capabilities, but
Yeah,
uh,
I do think that his ability is too short to get you good value out of it, but
hmm
it's better now that it's buffed, but it's not great. It's like an okay, if you want to, you can, but there's so many other 2 manas that you'd rather run over this card, because the entrance isn't even guaranteed to give you any value at all. So you can literally ignore this most of the time. Sometimes it's useful, it's pretty situational, and it's not even that good early game. Uh, so I would put it in C. Okay, and then moving on to Orcish Explorer. So it's a 5 mana taunt that has 4/3 attack, and it's a normal creature. So this
hmm
creature, it's a lot of mana. It does have the 1 man army, so your opponent is gonna want to chump block it and then kill it with like a 3 attack unit usually. So it is hitting that 3 mana flesh threshold where they can easily dark matter blast it, or someone can chump block it and then use the
yeah,
Monstrous Recruiter. That's the
yep,
card. It's so hard to remember exactly whether it's Monstrous Recruiter or Righteous Recruitment or Riotous. It's kind of weird. But
hmm
regardless, it does die quite easily by Dark Matter Blast. If your
hmm
opponent doesn't have the Dark Matter, it's kind of meh. A good player will still kill it pretty easily. Uh, if they have a lot of creatures on board, they're just going to chump block it and then kill it that way.
yeah. And I think a lot of people honestly sometimes get one just from some people that I've spoken with, 1 man army can seem like it's a lot greater than what it actually is because of the bee. But the bee actually only is great because of that 1/1 it gets for each creature, and then it takes the damage. Well, then when the health goes back down at the end of the turn, it's as if it didn't take any damage to begin with. Whereas something like this, if they throw 3 things at it, like you said, it's got that low health, so it is very likely to die.
Yeah, it's going to die quite easily.
Yeah.
It is better than like Bergemian Stag, in my opinion. Um, so I would probably put it in like C, where it's like meh, I wouldn't run it, but sometimes there may be a case that you would run it. I don't think there is though for most of these Cs. Most of the time you don't run it, but uh, I'll always be open to trying different cards. Just because it's low doesn't mean you shouldn't try it in a certain situation. It could be good that in a situation that we're not thinking of, like I forgot in the mind corruption one, I forgot that it could be followed up with glow promotion, which is actually a decent move. That's like the one situation where mind corruption is okay.
Yeah. I don't think other than that mind corruption would be too okay in other situations.
Yeah, that's like the one situation where I would give it a little bit of kudos.
Yeah. Oh,
But
mm, sorry,
giving,
what were you saying?
yeah, well, stealing your opponent's 10 mana and then mind corrupting it and then upgrading it to a different 10 mana has a lot of
Yeah.
value now because of Magi.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Magic gets played a bit much.
and then following is Restless Spirit. It ironically enough, it does not have Restless. Spanish Flea made a joke about that.
A, a fleeting argument, if you could say. But
Ironically enough.
yeah, it is odd that it doesn't have restless. You would think.
Well, I think they came up with Restless after that card came out.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's yeah. Well, that's probably possibly the case.
Okay, so this is a 3 mana flight that has 3/1. I have to
Hmm.
say, you just rather play Skywatcher Sentry if you
I
can.
was literally about to say, there's no point. Why would you play a card that costs two more mana for only one extra attack?
You'd rather play that or Lavrod Whelp. Just don't play this
Yeah,
card. Either play Lavrod
basically.
Whelp or Skywatcher.
You say this is an F tier? I would almost say it could be, but maybe not.
I would say it's actually like a C because it still is a flight, so it has some value, but right
Okay,
now
I'll give you
it
that.
doesn't because main dungeon master in play is Gunhaunt, which has ranged, so it's like whoop-de-doo. If you did 3 damage for 3 mana, that's like nothing.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, and then we have Untaming Destroyer next up. Okay, so it's a 8 mana amped with Restless, and it's 5/10. It's got Deathblow at gaining 2 life. So it can both attack and defend the same turn, and it's
Such a
also
game changer.
yeah, it's a really good. It's actually really good. It's a lot better than I originally suspected whenever I saw the card first.
Honestly, same.
Like I definitely underestimated it. It is it's a really solid card. I wouldn't say it's overpowered in any way. Um,
No, it's pretty balanced in what it does. Because the thing is, with Untaming Destroyer, you're not coming out with something that's like popping off crazy abilities like Magi and also having 9/9 attack, but or 9/9, but with the benefit of gaining that health from creatures that your opponent's going to inevitably have to throw at it, and it having 10 health, that 5 attack's actually not bad.
yeah. Would you say this is an S or an A? I feel like it's a little
I don't know.
floating between there.
I don't. Yeah, maybe high A. I
Yeah,
don't think you could give it the S status.
yeah. It's not like a card you'd run in every deck. It's very good at putting pressure on your opponent while also being pretty defensive. So that's the good thing about it. It's being
And I find,
aggressive with your opponent
yep,
while also giving you something defensive.
and I find it's actually in its defensive role, it's actually more useful against Magi than a lot of people would think, because if you've got a field full of creatures and you suspect that they're going to Magi and that's your only option, you can somehow necromancy it or something. I mean, that's 10 health. That creature's not going to die guaranteed, and
Yeah,
it's going to take a lot of the heat from your other creatures.
yeah. It's very magi resistant, which is pretty important nowadays because that combo just rules the meta right now.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even say that Bones is the meta. I mean, it obviously is, but for reasons that everyone knows, nobody likes playing Bones too much. So, like, you see crazy decks that come out where people are popping Magi out turn 3, turn 4, and then you know what? Somehow they got rid of it turn 5, right back. I mean, it's just crazy. It's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, just because something's a meta, I don't like playing meta all the time. I mean, I'll
Hmm.
play it in like a tournament, but if it's between playing something I want to play and something that's not very fun but it'll win me the game, I'd rather play something that's
Hmm.
fun. I do enjoy making bad decks better
Hmm.
because it is
It's
like a nice challenge for me.
It's just crazy though, because like I said, I was just recently in that tournament, and I didn't see a single bone deck. So you say you would run bones in a tournament, man. I didn't even see it. The Magi's took them out. But I definitely like taking a bad deck and somehow turning it into something good. Like I don't remember the cards you were running the other day in our game. You said a global recruitment, and you said you made a deck around that. It was very interesting. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think I'll release a video on that deck.
Yeah, it was definitely terrifying. I mean, the fact that you could get a Magi out and then global recruitment and then have another Magi come out from that, or just the creatures that you just have to watch the video to understand what Wonkles pulls off.
Yeah, Okay, so next we have Eager Farmer.
Farmer Boy.
Yeah. He's a 2 mana 3/2. What else do I have to say? He's a really good filler card early on. I would say you would actually rather play Bone Brute in most situations because that has amped and it's got one extra health. I mean, it gains that 3/3 Saz whenever you play a spell for the turn and amped. But you would rather play Bone Brute right now. You'd rather play other cards. Uh, it's actually not too half bad. It's a solid filler card for until you can get better cards.
Yeah.
So I would say it's C.
It's
I think C is
it's
like
I
the
mean
theme
for
for
two
this video.
mana, the 3 attack's pretty decent, not gonna lie. But yeah, I agree. It's just about,
You you would
probably a
rather
filler card.
you'd rather play local Gravekeeper than
Hmm.
Farmer because Gravekeeper, if you can keep it on board, it just wipes your opponent's graveyard. Uh, right now, the graveyard is actually filled up a lot by random cards, so that's why I didn't put it in S, because it'll just grab useless cards.
Yeah. Although, no, yeah. I mean, you don't. There would be no reason to grab that.
Okay. And then we
All right.
have Faithful Steed. So it's a 3 mana amped with 2/2. I mean, that has the last word of a random friendly creature gains 1/1.
Yep.
I'm
I would.
actually not a big fan of this card because it's random. I think if it wasn't random, it would be a lot better because you could put it on a stump. And putting stuff on a stump is just crazy good.
Yes, beefing the stump does get annoying, and I would agree. I mean, I like the random, or I mean, I don't like the random, because of the fact that it could go to anything. But sometimes you can strategically play it to where you like know where it'll go. But that's so situational, and it's not always a guarantee. And we're not here for what ifs.
Well, if it is a what if, you want it to be a good what if,
Yeah, a really good what if.
like Magi.
Yeah,
Magi's a what if card. It's a very random card that just always has value, but it generally has value more in certain situations.
yeah.
So,
I wouldn't say the horse has too much value. I mean, if you could choose what it went to, that would change it.
I've tried. I thought about putting in an aggro deck, but there is just other cards you'd rather play than this card. So I would say it's a C. It's not
I would agree. It's a C.
okay. And then next we have Cautious Hunting Party. So it's a 3 mana ranged with 2/1, and then it summons a copy of itself whenever it's entranced, whenever it comes into
I
field.
I really like this card. I feel like it pairs great with Glorious Overseer. Maybe that's just my opinion, but it's
Yeah.
just so nice. Like, even if they happen to get rid of everything on your field other than your Glorious Overseers, because honestly, for some reason, you see Glorious Overseers end up surviving for a while. Not too many people will waste Dark Matter Blast or something on them, so they usually stay out. And if you've got two of them on the board, I mean, two Cautious Hunting Parties in one turn, that's a lot of pressure coming at the opponent.
Yeah. If your opponent isn't running Missionary Vanguard, then I would totally agree with you
Hmm.
because it's
It is its
really
worst nightmare.
it is a really good card when your opponent isn't running stuff like Missionary Vanguard. It's
Yep.
also a little weak to like Magi and stuff. So you'll summon two 1/1s. I mean two 2/1s. And then if people aren't running Vanguard, it's definitely worth the risk. But if they are running Vanguard a lot, it's not really worth playing the hunting party for the risk of the Missionary Vanguard coming out on it.
Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of scenarios where I'll bring them out to try and beef up my bug guy, but then next turn they just get wiped out just because of a vanguard.
Yeah, I mean if they double Vanguard, it can kill your Glorious Overseered ones too,
Yeah, they could.
but that's less likely. That's a little
I
more.
was about to say that's like Ah,
It can happen to you, but it's less likely. If you have a Glorious Overseer, I really like it. I agree with that. What other combos are there with this guy? Uh, I mean, you can banish it from the grave. One of them from the graveyard. With Gun
yes,
Hunt.
that's one thing I always point out when I'm playing with people. You gotta make sure with Gun Hunt you get rid of the non-token. Keep that token around. Who cares about the non-token? You'll bring it right back. Actually, you bring it back stronger, technically, because it's a 3 mana cost.
Yeah, it's one more. It's actually a stronger unit when you when you bring out it back out with Gun Hunt.
Yeah.
But I would say it's like an A because it has weaknesses, so it's got not a lot of health. It's kind of like a glass cannon. It's very good at it's decently good at burning your opponent's life down because they don't want to block it very much unless they have a 3 health guy, then they do.
Yeah. Early game, it's very hectic to deal with unless you can pull something out that can take it out. Because, I mean, that range coming through before your attack does affect a lot.
Okay, and then next we have Traveling
Oh,
Medic.
SS. No, I'm just kidding. Not SS. He's
Okay,
very good, though. I love this card.
yeah, it's definitely a card I was like right away really liked. So it's a 1 mana 1/1 that on entrance it gives another creature 0/1/0/2, which is really
Hmm.
good. There's tons of synergy with other cards with this card that you wouldn't originally think of. Like you put it on a Skywatcher, you put it on a Trapjaw. It's as good to hit with Dread Experiments once it's used its entrance because it's already giving you value, and you're getting more value by Dread Experimenting it, and then you can Gun Haunt it to get it
Yeah,
back.
literally.
You can give health to Garenan. You can give health to Lavrod Whelp. You can give health to. There's many different good combos with this card. Also, Gurm combos with it good because you can turn that health gain into attack gain, which you can combo off with Trapjaw. You use
Hmm.
Trapjaw, Traveling Medic, and Gurm, and those three
Hmm.
combined can make a really strong Trapjaw that they can't block at all. I mean, they
Yeah.
can chump block it, but their guy will just die instantly.
Now, the only thing you got to worry about with stuff like that is, as of right now, Spring Trap can just about reverse everything. So,
Yeah, people aren't running Springtrap as much, but even so, forcing your opponent to Springtrap a 1 mana is actually quite good.
yeah, actually, when you put it like that, I would agree.
Cause like think about it, you're making them spend 2 mana on a 1 mana.
Yep. And taking away some of their possible combos because the only reason they would have Spring Trap in their deck is if it was somehow synergistic, like with the Reconstructor or in other ways.
Well, yeah, it's either Reconstructor or it slows down your opponent's plays. That's how I usually look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I would put it in S. I don't think it's overpowered. It's a very synergistic card. It's really based on what it can hit. So
I would definitely say it's one of those neutral cards that goes in every deck.
yeah, I wouldn't say every deck, but a good amount, a lot of decks. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
decks, but there are situations where I wouldn't run it.
Yeah. I
Okay.
guess I couldn't see it in a bone deck.
Okay, so next we have Bergemian Stag. So this is a 4 mana multi-blocker that has Restless, so it can block twice and it can attack the same turn it blocks. But it's a 4/4. So I don't really like this card. You were talking about how
I
you liked it. Did you want to
can't help
explain
but
that?
want to like it. I can't help but want to like it just because of the restless and multi blocker. But I just, it that 4 health it does make it a little squishy. So I at a 4 cost, there probably is better options. Uh, as of right now, at least, because there's not much you can do with a restless multi-blocker who still comes out exhausted, and then the next turn's probably gone with what you're going to have to block. So you're not even really slowing much down. Whereas if you had like a uh, the, the bighorn stag beast, or yeah,
Yeah, big.
the 2/6. I mean, it's just and its ability way more use case scenarios. So
Yeah, Bighorn Pack Beast is like it's more defensive, but it's actually better at what it's trying to do. So,
or even the
uh,
next card that we're about to talk about,
yes,
Stellar Shard, better option than the Stag.
yeah, it's better. Stellar Shard is just more aggressive, but it's a better 4 mana. But also, I
Yeah,
feel like the Bergemian Stag is trying to do both blocking and attacking with so little health that it can't do both.
yeah.
It's gonna die before that second defense. Like
I
that
mean, I
one.
guess you could Bergemian into Medic to make it live longer, but I mean, at that point, you're questioning if it would have been better somewhere else.
Yeah, it would a better combo would just be putting it on a pack beast, and then you get
I
more
mean, yeah,
damage on your opponent. But
yep,
I do think it's a C. It's not that good.
yeah.
Um, maybe I
I
should.
wouldn't even.
Yeah, maybe I think it's an F. I think it's an F actually. You do.
I was about to say, I don't even know if I'd put it in C, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's an F. It's just terrible. It's too little health to even take advantage of what it wants to do. I think it's like one of those cards where they were trying to see what they could do with the adding the new Restless and stuff.
I mean, if it was a 5/5, that would make a world of difference. But I mean, yeah, the 4/4 definitely. Oof.
Okay, and then next we have Stellar Shard. So this is a
Yep.
4 mana with Taunt and 6/6 that has prepare take 1 damage to yourself. This card,
Probably. Oh, sorry.
yeah, you can. What were you saying?
It was probably the one of the cards that I thought was absolute garbage when I first started the game. Like I literally my small feeble mind was thinking 1 damage every turn, but in all honesty, like that 1 damage doesn't pop off a lot, and it's a big boy that comes out for 4 mana. So I mean, and even at 1 damage, even if it does pop off a lot, like it's 1 damage. Health is a resource.
Yeah, the classic meme.
Yep,
But
yep.
but I would say it's kind of like an aggressive pack beast in my opinion, because pack beast
Hmm.
is more it's a 2/6, so it's more defensive, but it can do probably more damage to your opponent with a pack beast. But the Stellar Shard, it usually because it has taunt, you're not gonna get that 6 damage through. Usually depends on how many units your opponent has on board, but because it has taunt, it's gonna be defended first, so it will usually just survive like 3 attacks or a little more,
Yeah,
which it's to clean up your opponent's board a little bit of their own cards, in my opinion.
yeah,
So
it's a good stall.
yeah, I wouldn't say
It's
stalling. I would say Pack
it's
Beast is
something they
better
have.
at stalling for the game.
Well, yeah. When I say stall, I get yeah, I'm probably using that term incorrectly. It definitely makes your opponent have to use stuff that they probably wouldn't have wanted to use on it anyway.
Yeah,
Like they would want to save it for something better.
it's an aggressive card. Um,
Yeah,
you definitely want to attack with it because you don't want to just have it on board to for you to just keep on hitting yourself with damage. It,
yeah.
I, I've seen moments when you die from this, and it's really funny.
Oh, I've never seen that. Oh man, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, well, I've seen Power Inequality be played, and then they realize they have 1 health left, and
Oh no. Well, that's a big rip. I didn't, but the chances of that happening, slim done done.
but also Magi. I've suicided myself with Magi a few times. I did that in a tournament once.
Oh my, well, I didn't even know that was possible.
I did it on accident.
Suicide by Naji.
Well, yeah, it does 2 damage to you, so it makes sense. But I would say it's like a B, in my opinion. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would like
Actually,
to say lower A, but
yeah,
high B is okay.
it's probably a low A. Like it's okay at what it's doing, but I don't actually like the taunt on it personally. I think it would be better without the taunt, just because 6 attack you want to get through that with that attack, but the taunt doesn't allow that.
Essentially.
Okay, and then next we have Doomed Apothecary. So it's a 7 mana 3/7 that on last word it gains 7 health, 7 life.
Yep.
Would you like to say something about this card?
This is actually one of those cards where the reverse has happened for me. When I first saw this card pop up in the barkeep area, I was like, "Oh wow, that's a really good card. 7 health, and you get a creature to keep you defending you. I mean, that sounds great, but honestly, in the game we're playing right now, there's so many big beaters that can eat away 7 health instantly. So it really doesn't do much. Honestly, it kind of actually wastes the mana you could have used on something else. I don't see too many use case scenarios
I mean,
unless you've got like some crazy healing deck.
oh, I've heard about those.
You know,
It is pretty good if you copy it with like Tombstone Mimic.
yes,
Uh,
I
I've
could
s-
agree with that for sure.
I've seen people hit it with Great Revitalization, so they gain 14 health and 3 attack on their opponent. So, but like I would rather play the revitalization on something else, personally.
Yeah,
Like
hack
this,
beast.
the Doomed Apothecary, I think I would actually rather play Untaming Destroyer because you're probably gonna get 4 kills with Untaming.
Oh yeah. I mean, the healing aspect for untaming, I feel, is more powerful than Doomed Apothecary.
Yeah, because it actually some aggressive decks won't even block against Untaming because they'll just take the 5 damage a turn, which for
Hmm.
them is painful. But I mean they'll sit through it, but it kind of discourages them from chump blocking it, which is awesome.
Yeah,
So it punishes them for chump blocking it. When you chump that when you attack with the Doomed Apothecary, they're just gonna do that chump block. I think it's a
with
B.
no loss.
It's not too bad of a card. There's
Yeah,
there's some situations where I would run it, but I think I ran it in the unique only 20. I didn't. I
yeah,
You didn't really have much of a choice because
yeah. I
you
was
could
about to say you didn't really.
you kind of had to run stuff like that. It
Hmm.
You only had so many MRA cards that you could run. But I think that Untaming Destroyer kind of does what Doomed Apothecary does, but a little better. It it does more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the 5 attack. Popping your opponent's creatures plus the healing. I mean, you're not going to be able to take out as many diverse creatures with Doomed Apothecary as you could with the Untaming Destroyer. And also, like you said, that fear tactic, they don't want you to gain that health, so they're just going to take that quick little 5.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have Missionary Vanguard. So it's a 3 mana 1/4 that on entrance deals 1 damage to everything else.
Yes. Painful.
This,
Useful.
yeah, very useful. You gotta be careful though with using it in your own deck, in your deck, to be careful that you don't kill your own units. It does happen, but you're usually gonna wanna play it when you're losing, which I love those cards. I love the cards where it helps you when you're losing. When you're in a losing board state.
It's like, I've got nothing. My opponent's got 9 creatures. But they all happen to have 1 health.
Oh, I've done some of those plays. Those are great when that happens.
I've had it happen to me. Maybe you were the one who did it to me.
I don't remember, did I?
Oh, it's possible.
But
It's definitely a good card. I wouldn't say belongs in every deck, but it helps fight a lot of the swarm style decks just because they get those things out quick, and you
yeah,
got to do something.
yeah, if your opponent likes, it is pretty good at killing aggro, I think. It does help against that.
It it depends on the type of aggro because if it's I mean, well, what no, actually I think the deck I'm thinking of would actually be called tempo, not aggro,
I think
because you usually wait.
I think tempos where you like always have something to play. I
So, would you consider like the Magi deck that you were running earlier? Would you say that's an aggro style deck?
it's hard to
Because
say.
this doesn't do much against that. You know what I mean? Where you like what you usually not doing too much the first couple turns, but around like turn 3 or 4, you're gonna pop out your Magi, or you've got all these other big cards that either help you mobilize stuff
I
that
don't
are is also big.
Honestly,
It,
I'm not sure exactly if that's aggro or if that's called something else because it's such an unusual thing.
it is. I was blown away when I first saw it.
Uh,
It almost makes you realize like how insanely broken some of these combos are.
yeah, we definitely need some balance changes. We've been
So
sitting on
that
this meta for a bit now.
yeah, there's a little bit. Granted, it's still fun because at this point people are so tired of it that they're forced to make these different styles of decks. So it's holding over.
Yeah, I like it that people aren't running bone as much because it's boring, and if we all mutually agree that bone is overpowered, then we don't play it, right?
Well, it's a mutual agreement.
Okay,
Yep,
so I think that it is an S because it's pretty situational sometimes, but when it is good, it is really good.
it's very good. Like,
Like, it's not good early game usually, but if you keep it in your hand for that one situation, it can just do really good work for you.
yeah, and it's usually something that the opponent is not expecting.
I mean, yeah, usually you want to suspect that they might have it.
Yeah,
Okay, and then next we have Prince's Champion. So it's a 5 mana 6/6. I just rather play Stellar Shard.
yep.
Just play Stellar
One
Shard.
mana cost less. Just play Stellar Shard.
Same
I mean,
stats
he looks
except he
cool.
has Taunt and the Prepare. Just run Stellar Shard.
I like it. I like his animation.
Oh yeah, it's kind of cool.
But we he's. I mean, would you call him F? It's pretty kind of useless.
Uh, I mean I think that Orcish Explorer may be slightly better than him, but it's kind of debatable. I think he's probably C. He's one of those like normal creatures that just doesn't have good enough stats to be ran. Like
Yeah,
Skywatcher is one of those cards where it's a normal that people do run because it just has such good stats, such good stat line.
yeah. I'd like to see him with an ability. He's one of those creatures that I feel like is just like calling out for like an ability. Like I don't know. He needs to have like provoke or something along those lines. I wouldn't say taunt, but
Yeah, there's some cards I would definitely argue could just get some kind of ability added to them. Okay, and then we have Avatar Piece.
LP greatest card
Yep,
in the game.
yeah, best card in the game.
Yeah, yeah. If you're
Yeah.
not rocking Avatar Piece, you are a square because you are not around.
Okay, so yeah, it's a 9 mana with 1 man army, and then it has 8/8 attack, 8/8/8, and then it loses 2 life whenever another creature dies. You know, like it even does a good job of killing itself for you.
Let's make sure we put emphasis on what you just said. Not when your creatures dies, when another creature dies.
When any creature on the board dies.
It's ridiculous.
You know how often creatures die in this game?
I feel like there's some sort of point being made.
Is there a worse than F tier?
Is there? Honestly
It,
speaking, though, like it really doesn't even make much sense because, like, actually, if you look at it on the name, it's the Avatar of Peace. So maybe you play this card when you concede the battle. You want to give peace to your opponent. That's about it. Yep, there you go.
okay.
I
Well,
want to lose.
see, I don't like this card because it exists in the game because it makes global promotion worse.
Huh? Oh, it does. Oh
I
man.
I don't like that about it. It makes global promotion worse as
Oh,
a card.
talk about the biggest downgrade Magi to Avatar piece. Oof.
Or Untaming Destroyer to Avatar piece.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
any of them. I'll take a doomed apothecary over Avatar piece, but that's not going to work with the global promotion. But
Yeah,
yeah, you get what
at
I'm saying.
least Doomed Apothecary gives value. But
Yeah.
they do have planned changes for him, so he's not going to be staying here when they change him, I'm assuming. Uh, okay, and then
So they
next,
are talking about changing Avatar piece. I did not hear about that. Okay.
yeah, they had some plans for it. Uh,
Okay. Cool. That's interesting.
yeah, I think they were saying
All right.
that they would have him give something pacifist where it couldn't attack or something like that. But that's not like official. I don't know it. That's what I've heard. It's
Okay.
rumors of.
Future talk.
Yeah, like talk among the community. Okay.
And next up is the most annoying card in the entire game to me. For
Okay, so we
one,
have Garenan Trading Prince. So it's a 4 mana with that's unique that has 2/2 and then it you gain 1 life when your opponent draws a card and then it every turn you can activate it to draw another card. So if this card stays on the board, it's really good.
nope.
It The problem with it is it doesn't. I mean, if you put Traveling Medic on it, then it kind of solves a little bit of those issues because it would be a 2/4, so it would be a lot harder to kill.
I would
Definitely,
say it is definitely a good medic option.
yeah, it is. Because just being able to draw another card every turn and also have that extra survivability, both of those are really good effects. And being able to keep him on board, just it gives you so much advantage over your opponent. But also, the downside of him is he dies so easily.
Instantly, he's a target.
He's right away, as soon as he comes out, your opponent will try and kill him. If they can,
Yep.
they will. They're 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 not playing good if they don't. They're being dumb,
I,
okay? If they don't.
yeah, I say he was the most annoying card because it took me forever to get him. But yeah, 100%. I mean, he'll come out, and if he's not gone in the first turn, he's going to be gone soon. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he dies by Lava Rod Whelp, Germ, Dark Matter Blast, Mastery, Call of the Old God.
Literally,
So many
so many
things.
things.
So many things will kill him. That's why I think he's definitely a high A. Like, he's really solid when he can stay alive, but the
I would,
problem is with him staying alive.
yeah, I would like to say he's S because that health gain is very nice. And often I find the opponent does not even notice that it's happening, so they're just going to keep playing draw cards or stuff like that. So that's if they're not a good player, but uh, you know, it's it usually. I would like to see him have more health, but I would, as of right now, yeah, he's a A, and I don't think any change would be necessary because maybe in later, plays or later sets, there won't be so much destruction out on the board, so he could find more light.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he needs changed. He's actually
No.
pretty well balanced, in my opinion, because like he's really strong when he is on the board, but he's like a utility glass cannon. That's how I would treat him.
Hmm.
Utility glass cannon.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to say that him being easy to get gotten rid of is a reason to change him, well, I mean, every card in the game is easy to get rid of technically.
Yeah. It's you never attack with him. You're every time you hit him.
Never.
Well, not never, but if you're
Okay,
decked
well,
out,
okay,
you're not gonna activate
if
it.
you come across a win condition, like where if you swing with all your creatures, you're going to win, then yes, you would swing. But most of the time, as soon as your turn starts, bop them on the head. And I do mean as soon as your turn starts, because you could totally change your entire play.
Yeah, you don't want to forget about him.
Yeah. Friggin' after you've used all your mana, you're like, oh, Garenan, but
Okay, so that's the last card. Anything you want to say before we go?
no, honestly, I mean, I would say I do. I really like the neutral faction, and I would love to see more cards in it. Honestly, I've always liked neutral cards, so that would be very interesting to me to see what else they could come up with for this faction.
Yeah. If anyone else wants to be in one of these videos or has an idea to have something to talk about, hit me up. I'm open to suggestions. I really like that idea that we can have a revolving door of people, come to
Yep,
discuss how they feel about the cards or the game itself.
yep. And it's honestly nice experience coming from the outside as well because, you know, speaking personally, Wonky is a pretty good guy. You know, he'll beat you into the ground while he's playing with you, but then he'll explain to you how he beats you into the ground. So yeah, it's a fun experience. So I definitely like this little podcast type thing going on. Tavern Talks is nice. So it's I appreciate what's going on here.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good night.
Yep.